From the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery in Nashville, Tennessee, it's Gardening Inside Out, a podcast with highlights from our Saturday morning live show, answering all your gardening questions, giving you plant advice for any space in your life. Let's start the show.
Hey, y'all, it's Caroline Gant.
Hey, y'all, it's Austin Lowen.
And it's Tyler Blankenship.
We're here.
What's you laughing at so early?
I just got the giggles, man.
Okay.
You do have the giggles.
We're going to keep giggling on through this, though.
Yes,
Let's
we
do
are.
it. And we're going to do it in the hot.
We're going to do it in the hot.
It's hot out there
It is
right now.
oddly hot right
Back,
now.
it's November. What's happening? It's back hot again.
I don't
think,
like it.
You know, in our area, the Gulf of Mexico is still pretty warm, and that is kind of keeping the warm temps aloft as it pushes up into the country.
I don't know. I was in Baltimore, and it was hotter.
Well, that's weird.
The Atlantic is hot, too.
It was hot up there.
We got some hot water in the
I
oceans.
was like, I'm going to be there in the fall. I'm going to be wearing sweaters. There were no sweaters to be worn.
No. There is some strange stuff happening in the plant world, too, because of this warm weather.
Yes, there is.
There is. We talked about it on the show, actually, but we'll go back. I mean, there's things that are blooming that should not be blooming until next spring, and they're wanting to bloom right now. You know, Ben, one of our landscape specialists here and our good buddy, he told me that his peppers have had fruit on them all summer, whatever. They kind of stopped growing. And then recently, he said they pushed on 2 more feet of growth, and now they're flowering and refruiting.
Really?
Yes.
I need to get down and look at mine. I haven't looked at mine in weeks. They're still there.
It's been an excellent pepper year. Like, in general, it's been a good pepper year. We've been kind of dry. We can be a little wet for peppers here sometimes. Me specifically, my yard stays wet, so peppers are hard for me to grow. But, like, my little brother, he showed me his peppers the other day. He's got jalapenos, like, 6 inches long and beautiful red, like, fantastic. They're great.
Awesome. So my tomatoes have done really well and have also put on more blooms. And I guess my problem is solved. I just wasn't growing a very good variety of tomato.
Oh, what were you growing? Celebrity?
This year, yes.
But that's an excellent variety.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're saying in previous years.
Previously.
You hadn't grown
Gotcha.
some good
Was
varieties.
that- I'm
this year.
sorry if
Yeah.
that wasn't
I did not
clear.
put that
Yes.
together.
Yeah,
Celebrity's the
previous years, I think I was growing Brandywine. But there's something about Brandywine. The skin kind of is a little thin on them.
I love
you
a
noticed
thin
that?
skin, though.
I mean, it's nice, but it makes for like a really lumpy situation.
It can.
Yeah, we don't
Kind
want
of
that.
soft and bruisey if you let them get too ripe.
Yeah, that is true.
I bet I have some tomatoes down in my bed.
I know I do. They're just green laying on the ground because they ain't cleaned up out there in a while.
Yes.
Well, something ate most of my greens.
Probably a rabbit.
Probably.
Maybe cabbage worm.
I don't know. It's a raised bed off my porch that's like 3 foot high. Can rabbits get up there?
Probably.
It
If
seems
they
like
really
they could get
wanted to.
anywhere.
You would
Something
think.
came and topped all my radishes.
Now that could have been deer. A grazing deer too.
Oh my gosh.
Could have been a number of things.
Usually rabbit fencing, I don't see it go very much higher than 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah,
so.
you're right. I don't know that they can jump much higher than that, but I don't know.
Well, something's happening in my garden beds.
I think a deer just went by when they just chomped the tops. They'll
And it
just
was like
work down the whole row.
All the
Yep.
way down. You know what I have blooming right now?
What's that?
My Carefree Wonder Rose is in like full show.
Oh, yeah.
Full bloom. Like
Yeah.
gorgeous. Leaves are clean right now.
It's,
Good rose weather.
It's
Yeah.
perfect rose weather right now. Me and Ben, same guy Ben, we were literally just talking in the back. We've got a lot of like old school hybrid teas, floribundas, those that are really reblooming right now. And they're so clean and fresh whenever the night temps fall and it gets cooler. Like still okay with little warm days, but at night when that drops, like the blooms hold on and they just hold on longer. I mean, if you get a bloom in the summer with roses, it could be a day or two and like those blooms are falling off. This time of year though,
They're perfect. And my Carefree Wonder, I mean, if y'all listening, if you are into roses and you don't know about this one, it's my favorite. It's great. It's pretty clean as far as roses go, growing them in Middle Tennessee.
yeah, I mean, hence the name Carefree Wonder. Like you don't have to do all that. It's on its own root. It
Yep.
has not been grafted at all onto a different hardier rootstock. It's got its own rootstock, so you know that's a pretty hardy rose.
Yep. It shoots up new growth all the time. It's a great one.
It
I
is.
love it.
Pretty color too.
Yeah, it's like a very vibrant pink, and then it's kind of white underneath the petal.
Nice.
So it's got a little two-tone look. That's kind of all that I have going on right now in my beds because I haven't really been looking at them lately.
Yeah, well, it's kind of that end of the season thing.
I have.
Yeah.
I've been looking right at them
Yeah, you
and been up in them. Cleaning out the remnant weeds, which have been weakened, thankfully, due to the drought. Really just been going at it. And I've been using a little grabby arm because
You love the grabby
You
arm.
do love the grabby arm. I saw a story on your Instagram the other day of you using that.
I did a first-person perspective of what it's like, and it's so satisfying. I park my wheelbarrow next to the bed. I have my stirrup hoe, and so I'm like taking up the mats of crabgrass, and then it all gets put into a pile, and then I've got the arm resting on the wheelbarrow, so I just grab it and then lift it in, and I don't have to bend over.
Amazing.
My bending has been cut by like 80%.
That is nice for a gardener. I will give you that, because there's a lot of bending going on typically with gardening.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why it keeps you limber, if you keep up with it. But, recently I've had some kind of knee and back injuries, and I don't want to flare those up. But the weather's been so nice, I want to work out there and get my projects done. So this has been a great compromise, and I've done several wheelbarrow loads of weeds now.
Wow.
Proud of you.
Yeah,
That's a feat.
That is a feat.
it is. And,
Good work.
digging those flowers out of the bed, the garden beds, has actually, I feel like maybe signaled off to the butterflies in my garden, like, hey, we're still here. And so my butterfly activity is great. I actually had 2 monarch butterflies.
Oh, wow.
Hanging
I've
out-
had none.
Yeah, hanging out in my garden with me for like hours feeding.
Cute.
And this is a good case because what I have right now are just a few leftover zinnias. This is a really good case for just planting a little patch of flowers. You don't even have to plant that much. I mean, I think maybe I had like a little 3x3 plot of zinnia that I had sown even later, like in like September.
Oh, yeah. They'll come up and flower.
Yeah, and they're up, blooming, growing, looking good, and the butterflies can't resist them. Also, I saw a long-tailed skipper, which I have never seen before in my garden.
Well,
Usually, it's
You've
the
created
little
an
short ones.
oasis.
Yeah, but it's just so easy to do. Like I didn't think it would be that easy, but you just like set aside a tiny little pocket and they'll be there. They'll find it.
Just scatter some seeds. I mean, zinnias I love them.
Yeah.
They're great. And it is smart to plant. I didn't do it this year, but in the past, I've planted them early or like late spring when it starts to warm up enough, and then sowed seeds kind of on top of them 2 to 3 times. So then you keep on getting new growth. So once they because they get big, they get leggy. That's probably one thing that Austin doesn't like, I would guess, about
that's
them.
exactly what I don't like about
Yes. And I mean, you can always cut them back, but the stalks get so big and sometimes they don't really push new growth off of that if you cut it back. But if you kind of progressively plant them,
That's a good idea.
Then it does well.
That's a good idea. Pro tip there.
Yeah.
That is quite the pro tip.
The butterflies were definitely seeking out the more pink ones, pink and less so like the orange and white. So, I mean, you might have mixed results, but I feel like that's what they were gravitating to. And I also worked on my side yard bed, finally getting to where I can put those grasses in that I've had for a little while now. One tip, y'all, check before you dig around your foundation.
Oh, yeah? Did you hit something?
Did you electrocute yourself?
No, but I did. As I was prying up some daylilies with my shovel, which is sharpened, by the way, it could have cut right through it. I uncovered a just straight up cable, like power Molex. Molex? No, there's another word for it. Just a straight wire, not a conduit pipe, that you would run a wire through. Just pulled it right up.
Wow.
And thankfully, it was up against the foundation, so it was literally right by the concrete. But then I kind of backed up, and I was like, oh, yeah, there is like a conduit downpipe here that comes up over there, and there's an outlet. I didn't realize it had been just buried right there.
Huh.
They're perfectly fine to be buried as long as you get the right, power cord with the right coating. But, when you do that stuff, just make sure, because I'd never dug in that bed before.
Yep.
Make sure.
Check what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never know what you're going to do.
I've also learned not to plant on top of my septic lines.
Yes.
Don't want to do that either.
Probably shouldn't.
Yes.
There's a lot of things you have to think about.
I once saw a picture of a plumber that went to a septic tank that had a willow tree closely planted to it, not on top of it, but closely planted to it, within, I'd say, 12 feet. And literally, the picture I saw, they had to dig up this whole septic system and they opened it up, and it was nothing but roots of a willow tree.
Really?
It was insane. I mean, dense top to bottom septic tank full of willow roots.
Just slurping up that nasty water.
Just nasty.
No, not to plant willow trees like near my house or near my septic.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They literally seek out water, but that was one of the craziest pictures I have ever seen.
That sounds wild.
It was
so they just
nuts.
got in and just took over.
Got in and took over. It was crazy. Yeah, so avoid the willow trees around water.
Around water.
Speaking of water, bananas love water. Tyler, you love bananas. You grow bananas at your house. Well, my mother also grows bananas, and my father is somewhat of an impatient man. Okay, especially when it comes with plants. He's not like me at all. He's ready to get it done now, even if it's not time. So a phenomenon that I noticed has happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago. My dad had my whole family get out there and cut back the bananas, straight machete to the dirt, pretty much, a little bit above the dirt. We drug them all down to the woods. It was a whole thing. It's like a rite of passage every year for our house to take the bananas down.
The household.
You cut them,
Same
they
here.
start leaking, and they're like 300 pounds a piece, and it's awful. But it's something we do every year. Well, Dad decided to do it this year, like I said, about 3 weeks ago. Early. They were still up and pretty. He did that. I went to our house just 2 days ago, and what did I see?
Bananas.
6 foot bananas already pushing back up.
6 feet?
They went back up and got to about 6 feet tall right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're still unfurling, like they're still very immature leaves, but they straight up did it. And that's just a product of this weather this year. I mean, it's, like I said, we just got hot again. So if he would have left those bananas alone, like I told him to, then he would still have big, giant, good-looking bananas, and we could have done our rite of passage at the right time.
And now you're going to have to do a second rite of passage.
Now we're going to have to do it again because those banana leaves going to be mushy.
Oh, there are some good things about it, though. My figs, for instance, usually they'd be done by now. We would have had our first hard freeze, but I actually just now got my first harvest of ripe figs.
Nice. Yeah, they're going to finish.
And I got a lot of them.
Another good thing I really saw is in the ornamental world anyway is the endless summer hydrangeas have been fantastic, y'all. They call them endless summer hydrangeas because they bloom on old wood, but also can bloom off new wood that comes from the ground. It's just that it happens much later in the season usually. Yeah. So in Middle Tennessee, if we do get those late frost freezes, or normal time actually, a lot of the endless summers that are blooming on the current year's growth never really get a chance to show off as much as they want to. Well, this year we've had those warmer temps later on into the year, and they are as blue or as pink and as perfect and just money as you could imagine right now.
They're showing.
So there has been some really good things, but this is the phenomenon I wanted to talk to y'all about. Things that are not just blooming. Like blooming is one thing. I can kind of get past that a little bit. What I'm noticing is there's a number of trees who have gotten tired from our drought this year that we had. Mainly trees I'm talking about is like magnolia and elm trees, randomly elm trees. I don't know why, but I'm seeing this. And that is they got tired. They shed their leaves like they typically would at the end of kind of our summer here, or late summer, going into fall-ish. And then now they're re-leafing from their buds that are supposed to crack next spring.
Uh-oh.
So like I passed a deciduous magnolia tree on my way into work today, and it is fully leafed with gorgeous tender growth. Like all of the buds for next spring. So like, is our leafing going to be minimal next spring, or is it going to have much more dormant buds to be able to push? I mean, trees are fantastic at growing. We all know this, okay? If you have an event like this, it doesn't necessarily kill trees, but is it going to be lesser? Is it going to be...
Right, it might not be more as...
The lushness, I guess, of the spring flush.
This coming spring will be interesting for sure.
It is. For all of us, I think it's going to be fun to watch.
We had an interesting kind of false spring event last year or the year before last. And that entire year, my neighbor's maple tree, suffered this like maple tar spot.
Yeah.
And it was really rough to look at. The leaves were terrible. But this year, the leaves were very clean and perfect.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing with
without doing anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but it was put through stress. Lots of stress. And it was also pruned by the local power utility. Yeah. And they practically scalped it to the main stem on one side.
Yeah, they'll prune it good, huh?
Yeah, they just start cutting.
Yeah, they don't care.
They just get it out of the way. They don't care what it looks like.
But it did come back. It leafed out pretty much as full as it has been, save for a couple of bare spots. And the drought, definitely knocked it down a little bit. But this is interesting, and I am wondering how, if there's enough time for the leaves to harden off again, then get the signal, because the middle of November, we're forecast to get like 39 here in zone 7B.
Yeah.
And like, somewhere further north, I don't know, if it's been warmer, that could be a freeze event.
Yeah, maybe.
It's
I don't know.
just a weird
It's interesting.
time.
I'm ready to see when we're even going to get our first frost. So it hasn't come yet.
Yeah, my
It's on
house
its way.
plants are still outside.
Good for you.
They're still out there and loving it. Although we do have rain coming. So I kind of want to try to get them in before the rain because then, they're going to be heavy when I do start moving them. So
Probably should.
It's about time, Caroline.
It's
been
about
time for over a month for me to get them in with our typical weather. But it's just been a strange wetter pattern.
Yeah, it's been
Weather pattern.
It hasn't been wetter here.
It hasn't. It's been so dry.
Well,
weather pattern.
Like we said, rain's coming in. It's going to be good.
It's going to be great. You know what else is good? All the things we talked about this past broadcast.
It was a good one. Good
Yep,
show.
It was. We were all here.
Yep.
That's
And then who
right.
else?
Every single one of us.
We will be Davidless going into the next few weeks, but we'll have a special guest, which we will feature on next week's podcast.
That's correct.
We're
And if
super
you
excited.
want to check that out beforehand, you can always tune in Saturday morning. You can actually watch us, see what we look like as we talk. And plus, if we bring up images on the broadcast, then you will be able to see them. Take a look at that and take a listen to the podcast.
Here we go.
We're going to talk about what's going on in your garden and in your landscape and all the things that are going around your house here in Gardening Inside Out. We take questions directly from you and we answer them right here because this is what we do, Josh.
Yes.
Now, you got a little sideline gig you do during the week. And then you come in here on Saturdays and you make that little transition into a weekend horticulturalist, and you've been doing a really good job of it. I want to say
I've got a little experience.
you get to play the everyman on the show, and the rest of us get to play experts.
No, I'm the weird uncle that sits in the corner at Thanksgiving. That's what you guys view
like
me
I
as.
said,
I know it
everyman,
is. Okay.
Bringing in Caroline Gant,
Pull my
Austin
finger.
Lowen, welcome in, guys. Great to see you today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
It is good to be here. Actually, at my age, it's good to be anywhere. Yep. So I'm glad to be here. Tyler Blankenship across the way. We got Tyler Cam rocking again today.
Yeah.
There you are.
Oh, he got a new hat. Look at that thing.
Yeah, we got some
Wow.
new Bates swag and Earthmix swag in yesterday.
That's right.
So looking good. So thank you, Tyler, and thanks for getting us on the air and providing us the mechanism by which we're going to hopefully work through these questions that we have before. So
The gears
before we
are
get
rolling.
into that, now Caroline's been away all week, so she may be just trying to play catch up.
That's right. Just got in last night at like 11 p.m.
So she's been busily working in the world of entertainment this past week. So Baltimore, I believe, is where you were working.
I was in Baltimore. Yeah.
You know what?
For a couple days.
What's going on in Baltimore? What's the flora like?
Wait a minute.
Is there fall color? Is there flowers?
It's Balmer.
Balmer.
Baltimore. It looked a lot like here. There was a lot of fall color. I should have sent Tyler this picture. Actually, I did, but I didn't say to put it on the show. But there was a huge grove of Amsonia. So I thought of
saw
Bridget.
that.
I sent it to the two of you and Bridget. I mean, it was a lot like here.
Yeah.
I really didn't see much difference.
I figured.
It was cool. Went to Edgar Allan Poe's grave. That was exciting. Old cemetery.
Is that the first and last time? Never more, right?
That's right. Nevermore. But it was a nice little short trip. A lot of stuff. So
Well, good.
was
Glad
Also,
you're
how
back.
about you? I mean, I've already talked about getting the covers on the our connecting awning, which is really cool, and it gives our guests a place to be able to get out of the weather or not stand in the weather, either be it either rain or just beating down sun.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'll be a welcome addition. It actually already is a welcome addition.
It is. It's great. Yeah, you can walk from the checkout all the way back to the base trim and into the annual department. And pretty. I had a guest yesterday that was like, "Are y'all just going to cover everything?" And I was like, "Maybe." I mean, it's not, probably not.
We got a lot of sun-loving plants,
That's true.
so we have to kind of. But we also have a lot of shade-loving, shade-tolerant plants. So that's the kind of the motivation behind it, and it's also great to be able to have a bit of refuge and a way to get from the front checkout area to the greenhouse,
Yes.
perennial areas when we're maybe that's what your destination is, and we don't have to walk you through all of the whatever the weather is doing. So we're trying to. It's not what I would call a controlled environment, but it's semi-controlled.
Because you can't control it.
Well, we
can
don't
only contain it.
We barely even contain weather around here. We just have learned to deal with it, and that's really what we try to do is to adapt and deal with it. So that's the way we do it here at Bates Nursery. So we're glad to have you all on today and get a chance to talk about what's on your gardening minds. And I bet you there are questions in the queue.
There are questions, and we're already getting some live questions.
Yes, we are.
Hey.
So let's dive in. Everybody ready?
Ready.
We got a live question in from Linda on YouTube. Linda asks, I need to move my angel trumpet. Should I cut it back before moving it? You can, but the first hard freeze that we get is going to kill it back to the ground, but I wouldn't move it until spring if you're here in Middle Tennessee, because that is one that needs to get established, get its roots going in the ground before it does start to get cold. So you could move it now, but I think your chances would be like 50-50 of it actually surviving.
Yeah, I mean, your chances are kind of low on it surviving anyway. I mean, we don't really sell that plant as like a perennial, but we all know that plant can certainly come back in the right spot.
The gold one is the one that really is hardy here.
But I think you're right. If you disturb the root system now and try to move it now before winter, you're probably going to lessen your odds of it coming back next spring.
I tried planting some in probably the end of September a couple years back, and they did not come up. And it was the gold. It was cuttings from one that I have that has been coming back for like 5 years, and none of them came up that I planted in the fall.
Well, that's a really good point to make, is that before you try to move it, if you do want to move it this time of year, take your cuttings, you know, like now. You can literally take sticks of cuttings of that, and then in the spring stick them, and they will root. Like, it's one of the easiest plants to root ever. So
now, is that one of the type of things, if you're going to cut it, you just need to put it in a cool, dry place and allow it to callus over so that and that way it'll more likely produce roots later on? Or
that's one that I would just go ahead and root in water.
Okay.
I've grown them over winter, like Austin said. I'll take cuttings just in case we have a really, really bad winter and they don't come back, and I will just keep them on a window ledge in my laundry room and just have them growing, have them rooted in, and then by spring they're ready to go in the ground.
Is that the one with the big blooms that plant?
Hang down?
Okay.
Yeah,
Down.
Rudmansia.
Yeah, what a beautiful plant.
Excuse me, I got so excited about it.
Oh, you're so excited.
Oh, it's one of my favorite plants. They become like trees, and they are poisonous, but they are something else.
And candidly, there are a great many plants that are poisonous, so we don't recommend go around just chewing on your shrubbery.
Yeah.
Right, correct. We don't want to eat that.
Not
Kind of need to
venomous.
know.
Yes.
And that's been that way forever, so it's not a new occurrence.
Yeah, it's the venomous ones you got to watch out for.
Here we go. How should I water a newly planted magnolia tree over the fall and winter? This is a great question.
This is a good question. I mean, we had a little bit of rain, so that was helpful, but that little bit of rain didn't do much for your magnolia going down deep, okay? That stayed kind of on the surface this time. So this fall with an evergreen plant, we need to make sure we keep it evenly moist, but not just like soaked, okay? Once we get into wintertime and you start to notice the rains are happening more like they typically do, you're not going to have to water near as much. But with a newly planted plant, we need to make sure that water is right around the root zone where we need it. So deep waterings, not rain waterings, especially the little minimal rain we got the other day.
Yeah,
We got rain.
Yeah,
we did.
And it was a nice rain, but like you said, maybe we got a quarter of an inch.
Yeah, exactly.
And it fell over quite a number of hours. It was not a substantial amount of rain. If you had grass seed out, it was a good thing.
Perfect for grass seed.
Perfect.
Add some nice surface moisture, but if you're trying to water trees, don't deviate from what you've been doing. Continue to keep that hose out there and soak them at depth. Be patient. Watering cannot be done on trees, particularly magnolias and those kind of things, quickly. You have it's an exercise in patience, and it's a great time to be able to meditate.
Yeah.
You can do mindful watering.
Yes, definitely.
There you go.
Yeah, I've started enjoying watering. All right, second magnolia question. Recently planted Bay Magnolia dropping leaves. Is this normal?
Typically, yes. Okay, this is a sweet Bay Magnolia. This is our native magnolia around here. What a great plant.
Gorgeous.
Really, really pretty plant. And we call this a semi-deciduous plant or even a semi-evergreen plant, depending on which way you look at it. And for the most part, they don't,
even like say like the past 2 winters we've had that got like really cold, like most sweet bays dropped pretty much every leaf. Okay, there'll be some that'll hold on. And also it's newly planted. So even with, a lot of times with magnolias, I've noticed this, newly planted ones, a lot of those interior leaves that were already kind of yellowing anyway will drop off, and they'll show some signs of that, like, newly planted stress.
Yeah, and the Magnolia virginiana, which is what the sweet bay magnolia is, and there are cultivars. There are some that are more resistant to foliar drop than others, but they're all, if you have any kind of weather at all in the winter, you're going to get down to where you've just got green leaves out on the tips of the branches, and it's going to be mostly bare stems, and that's totally normal. They kind of take it to an extreme. The regular southern magnolia, the grandiflora, those also drop a lot. They just do it at the point where a new growth begins to emerge, and it's shedding off all that foliage to get rid of that.
And after you've cleaned up everything.
Yes, generally
absolutely.
speaking. Yeah. It wants to keep you in the cycle.
Yeah.
Got to have cleaning things to do.
There's always something when it comes to gardening, no matter what time of year it is. All right, our next question, we've actually got 2 that came from Cherry, one of our listeners. Good morning.
Hey, Cherry.
Cherry says, love my new Bates trees. And then she has 2 questions. 1, should I remove the stake that trained them in the pot? It looks tight.
Okay.
Particularly if it's a vampire stake, because Halloween's over.
It's over.
So,
oh my gosh, I'm so sad. I'm celebrating Halloween tonight.
well, speaking of sad,
Candy's on sale.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who are very sad about that we did not have an edition of our special thing that's happened the last
including
year.
myself. I'm very sad.
So anyway,
Christmas is coming.
I had an idea. I've presented this idea to Tyler, so I think we'll just hold on tight, everybody.
You were saying,
but back to Cherry. Cherry, it really depends on the plant and what the stake is actually doing. Okay, so like most nurserymen, whenever plants are young, they use stakes to make things straight and just to keep them straight. So they pin them up so your leader keeps going upright. You get to a point where your plant's going to outgrow whatever stake you've got. We just don't have stakes that are big enough for that. So if your stake right now is still like functioning properly how you need it to, then you can certainly leave it. If it seems like it's just there, then you can remove it.
They are never intended to be a permanent fixture.
No.
They're there to provide strength. Some plants are notoriously bad about being weak-rooted at the stem, and they'll tend to want to wiggle. Particularly container-grown plants, because they have been moved around a lot, they're more susceptible to that. But once they get in the ground and become established and no longer feel wiggly, for the lack of a better term, that can be removed and should be, because it's not intended to be a fixture in permanence.
Yeah, agreed.
Correct. All right, second question says, should I mulch around them or leave the bare dirt? And then she signs off, love you, wonderful people.
Well,
love you too.
The good thing about that question is that people need to understand that more is not always better.
Correct.
And in the industries, what we refer to is these, like mounds that you see some landscape companies put out over the winter months in particular, mainly because they don't have much else to do, so they just pile on more mulch.
Gotta have some place to plant the pansies.
It looks like a tree volcano, and that's not what you want. And as a matter of fact, that can be very detrimental to deciduous trees, hardwoods in particular, because you're keeping this moisture at the contact of the bark for extended periods of time. That actually can kill a tree if it stays wet too long. And do you concur with that, Austin?
Totally. Yeah, you're so right. Tons of people pile up mulch around the stem, and that's just not good practice, y'all. It's just not. Now, Cherry, for you specifically, if you want to mulch around your tree, you certainly can. I mean, aesthetically, it's kind of pleasing to see a mulch ring around your tree. But let's keep that mulch away from the stem if we can. You can get close, so it looks nice, but don't put it right on it. Don't pile it up around the stem. Just let it be kind of natural flowing. And then, yes, certainly you can do that. Do you have to? No, you don't. But, I plant trees in my yard and just in the yard out in the country. I'm not putting mulch rings around my trees out in the yard. That's just grass.
Stick them in the dirt.
That's just stick them in the dirt. That's just grass straight up to the stem, and I'll weed eat I'll get close, but not too close usually. And then keep it, kind of bare dirt below the trees, but I don't use any mulch out there. So that's a aesthetic thing, really.
Yeah, you don't use anything.
Just the grass goes right back on top.
Gardening Inside Out is brought to you by Earthmix Garden Products, creating regionally sourced high-quality soil blends and amendments for the sustainable-minded gardener. Fall and winter are great times to plant in the Southeast, and Earthmix can help you with Landscape Soil Conditioner. Mix Landscape with your native soil to feed all winter long. Added mycorrhizal fungi help your plants get established faster and increase hardiness through the year ahead. Visit earthmix.net for more information and retailers near you. Remember, success begins at the ground level when you use Earthmix Garden Products. Love
Absolutely.
it. I love Earthmix.
Oh, yeah.
You know what else I love?
What
What?
else you love?
Stuff that
What was that?
stuff that's pretty and colorful.
What's in bloom? With Austin. Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Bring it on.
All right, here we go. So, the normal things, kind of like last week. This is what a weird time of year it is right now, okay? But you know what? The normal things that are blooming, the mums, the asters, the goldenrod, and the pansies. They're all still in bloom, looking great. My pansies look really good right now. Really good. And hey, let's introduce a new one that's hit the stage this week.
May I introduce to you
Our little friend, Camellia. Hey, you know what? There's fall blooming camellias, and there's also spring blooming camellias, like early spring blooming camellias. But the fall ones that are in bloom right now, I personally have 2 camellias at the house. London Town Blush.
Oh my gosh, you're so fancy.
So fancy.
Wow.
Oh, they fancy.
So fancy.
Just beautiful.
Are they in full bloom?
Nah, I wouldn't say full, but they are blooming.
And rare. It's
No.
rare for camellias to bloom fully. They are
Yeah.
they open over a period of time.
Exactly. And their petals drop off easier than any. Like I had a guest the other day buying a camellia, and he was being kind of rough with it. And I'm like, hey man, you're gonna lose all those blooms. Like we got to be gentle when they're in bloom. If you can just touch them, they'll fall off.
He's going to scare them petals away.
So anyway, the camellias, like I said, the new ones that are on blast, right? I mean, they're not on blast. They should be in bloom. But the ones that are on blast, just like last week, y'all, what is going on around Middle Tennessee?
Wild.
All of our spring blooming things are blooming right now. Like, it's insane.
We
I
haven't
just saw-
received the signal, right?
I mean, I guess not. The dormancy signal.
cold
Like, hey,
signal.
just be quiet, man. Don't
to
talk
sleep.
through this time. Go to sleep and then wake up in the spring. No, they're awake. The azaleas. I saw a picture this morning. Paula in the office. Paula, we love you. She showed me a picture of an azalea that is like almost full bloom.
Unbelievable.
We're going to talk about this more in a second, but I got to get through this. So the azaleas, the rhododendrons, the deciduous azaleas even are blooming. My Chinese snowball viburnum, full bloom. Like, I say full bloom. It's got like 8 blooms atop of the plant. But it's like, I don't really want you doing that yet. But it is.
sleep.
It looks great.
You got to enjoy them when they're
While you
blooming,
got 'em.
because those blooms are not going to bloom again in the spring.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, we got things going on. We got quince happening out here. We got forsythia happening.
Unbelievable.
What's going on, y'all? Ben told me this morning, shout out Benny, his father, Gila, has he told me no leaves on it, but it is showing blooms.
I never knew his father was named Gila.
Gila. Father.
Yes,
Father
his
Gila.
father, Gila, is in bloom and looking good. But we're like, what's going to happen next spring? Red buds, Tyler told me about. Cherries, Tyler told me about.
My
Going on.
foxglove.
Foxglove.
Oh.
See, that's weird. Caroline, you told me about
never
your
bloomed in
lilac. Your
Yeah,
lilac
that
is
was
blooming.
last week.
We've
well,
got
I've
lilac
missed
on
a
the
whole
lot.
week. I'm like, all this is blooming here?
Yes, it is.
I haven't seen the light of day in Tennessee in a week.
And
So.
lilac on our lot right now is blooming, smelling fantastic. But I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Y'all, calm down. It's
Seriously,
not your time.
Everybody, calm down. We got to go to sleep soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get back into some questions
do
because,
it.
we got some Boxwood
Boy.
questions in this morning, Austin.
Man, I'm ready.
You,
He almost
oh.
spit his coffee out.
All right, let's get into it. Chris asks on YouTube, I just moved a mature boxwood last night. Got a good chunk of root ball with it and mixed existing soil with Earthmix Landscape.
Bravo.
Will I need to cut back the foliage for best chance of survival?
Chris, I know you were doing this last night. You've got the planting bug, man. He's always
Middle
doing
of the
something.
night.
In
You
the
can see
night.
him with
Midnight.
the headlamp.
Yeah.
on.
Chicken.
Chris, you've done what you should have done, man. You did it perfect. You got a lot of the root ball. You moved it quickly. You mixed in Earthmix with your native soil. and I'm sure you watered it in. I don't think any pruning is necessary right now. I mean, let's let that foliage stay up. I mean, if you have something that looks weird, wild hair shooting up and you want to tidy it, I guess you can do that. But I really don't think you need to do any major pruning. We need all the photosynthesis we can get down to that root system to make all this stuff happen, sugars and water and everything. So leave the leaves up. That's what's making that process start. No pruning right now. If you wanted to do like a late February tidy, like shorten just a little and make it uniform, you can do that. But right now, let it be. You've done what you did.
Well, I think you answered all the Boxwood questions because the next one comes from Carol on YouTube, also pretty much asking the same question. So, Carol, if we didn't answer that, let us know. But she did say, I love you all and value your Saturday show and opinions. Love it.
Carol.
And then we did have another Boxwood question that says when to shape and prune my boxwood. So let's just talk about that a little bit.
Like I said, typically that's a mid to late February type of chore, if you ask me. Kind of get them back in check at that point. Everybody loves a good uniform flush of boxwood. I know I do. I want all my foliage to be super, the same across the whole plant. And that way we get a uniform flush. Poof. Oh, the bust, Josh.
Yes. Poof.
Oh, it's fantastic.
One of the great things about boxwoods, going back to the prior question, is when you're transplanting boxwoods, they're generally quite forgiving. They have a fibrous root system.
Yes.
And the root ball needs to be generally wider than deep.
Yes.
Matter of fact, oftentimes you'll see them look like a pancake almost there.
Yeah.
But you want to dig that thing where that the outer part of the root ball is as wide as the boxwood itself, at least, if not wider. But you don't have to go that deep with it because the roots are all at the surface. So another thing you never want to do around boxwoods is cultivate them. No, you don't want to put a tiller in around boxwood. People either think they're doing something wonderful, you will destroy them because that's where all the little feeder roots are. So they don't till around boxwoods.
Yeah.
Ever.
I mean, unless you just are trying to stunt them.
Kill them?
It will do that. So
yeah. No, you're totally right. Those roots are right on top. I mean, it's an easy dig. Boxwoods are easy.
I have transplanted them in the middle of July when the heat was just awful and had complete success.
Yep.
Wow.
But you do have to, have a little sense about timing. Dig the hole where you're going to transplant it to first, and then dig it, transplant it, do your soil prep, backfill, and water immediately. And I mean soak it immediately. If you do that, generally they never even know they've been moved.
You're right.
They stay calm. Cool.
Everyone stay calm.
Everyone stay calm. We got one more question from Carol in on YouTube. Carol says, also your Bates team advised waiting till spring to prune my azalea, but I failed to mention it's an encore azalea. Should I still wait?
Yes, you still should wait until spring. But like I was saying, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about what do y'all think's going to happen? It may have been Carol's azalea that I looked at this morning that is literally, y'all, like almost in full bloom. Are azaleas next spring just going to not have new buds and blooms in the spring?
I think
is it going to be minimal?
I think it's going to be the deeper buds, the ones that are down deep, that are going to be more prevalent. And I'm trimming azaleas for now or before spring, and this applies also to anything else that's spring flowering, is to do it right after it flowers. Forsythia, quince, azaleas, lilacs, anything that's a spring flowering plant, just do it right after it finishes flowering. You can cut it as heavy as you want to at that point, and it'll flush right back out with new growth, and then leave it alone. Don't cut it anymore. And certainly you don't want to ever cut azaleas after the early part of July, because that wood that's on there is setting bud and getting ready for the next year's flower.
So chances are with this encore, it's going to be fine. It's
it's going to be. They do bloom on both the previous and the current year wood. That is true. And one thing about encore azaleas, while they are repeat bloomers, they don't bloom with the profusion that the old standard azaleas do. You don't get. They say more flowers more often. Actually, you get the same flowers. You just get them more often. You don't have as many. So, at one time. And that's there's only X amount of energy on any plant. So it has to be spent somewhere, either to produce growth or it's pushing bloom buds open and showing that color. So you there's no way to work around that magically, except that they have found varieties that are good at setting bud on the current year growth, which is what they did not do previously.
Yeah, I think we're just going to have to be happy with what we see right now.
You know,
Be like, you know what?
Happiness is a choice
Yes.
anyway.
It is.
You have
It
to
is.
Good
choose
choice.
to be happy.
Yes, and enjoy your plants that are in bloom right now. But next spring, it may not be as full as it usually
It
is.
might
I mean,
be
if like rhododendron buds and lilac buds are cracking right now, I don't think over the winter they're going to set like new ones for the spring. I don't know that.
Nah, they won't.
I don't think they will either.
They won't.
So I think our spring is going to be a little less than usual.
It's going to be interesting, but at least we're
It
getting
is.
beauty right now.
That's right. So enjoy that beauty right now.
Right now, and enjoy us answering these next questions.
Do it.
Right now. I have a container and the plants have mold. Should I replace soil when cleaning out for the winter?
You have mold.
Mold.
Why do you have mold?
Plants have mold.
The plants
It
have
doesn't say
mold.
The soil. So I wonder if it could be. I mean, it could be a number of things.
I guess it could. I mean, any pruning you can do to get rid of the moldy stuff you kind of want to get rid of.
Usually mold's right on the surface, right?
Yeah, are we
Usually.
talking about on the dirt or on the plant?
Well,
Well,
it says on her plant has, or their plant has mold. But if this is something that I would say is an annual pot, it sounds like you're going to be taking those plants out, right? And they're cleaning it out. So it's not a bad idea to switch out the soil if you're worried about it.
Agreed. Yeah,
I
I
would
mean, there's
say.
a reason for mold, and it's usually water
Yes.
related, a little bit wet, probably. So, if, like Caroline just said, it never hurts to refresh, a pot.
And the good thing about soil like that, don't just pitch it. If you've got a compost pile, it's a great place to add it. And then ultimately, when your compost breaks down, you're
going to kill it anyway. With the
it's
heat.
going to do that. Plus, you're creating more good organic material to use in other gardening projects.
Correct. That is right. All right. Sorry, I had to get back to the questions. Please explain how some sort of caterpillar has appeared on my houseplants. No new plants. I am baffled. I would say that little caterpillar just snuck in from outside. They can do that.
Well, they can, but a lot of times what happens is the mature insect, the one that's flying, say the butterfly or the moth, whatever it is, found a way to lay an egg. Yeah, just like that.
Right there.
Laid an egg right on that plant, and then that egg
Like
hatched.
the fly on David's head a while ago.
Yeah.
Got an egg?
It was just because I was on camera. No, this is the one we want to go to.
But I mean, caterpillars don't want to be, they're not as super mobile as you think they are. Like, for the most part, the host really wants to lay the egg where they want that caterpillar to hatch and to immediately start eating. We've all read the Hungry, Hungry Caterpillar book, right?
Very
Yes.
hungry.
Yes,
They're
we
very
have.
hungry.
But not lately.
Yeah, I have.
Not in a minute.
But anyway.
How many times in
Yeah.
the last week, Austin? I mean,
I've read that book a lot. But anyway, yeah, so it like I said, that's probably how it happened. A tiny little egg happened, and then it hatched, and then it just started eating.
And then you just got to find it.
The good thing about a caterpillar is you can easily pick it up and move it to a different tree.
sounds
Move it
like-
outside to a tree. Let it
read the
live.
question one more time. Because it sounds like we got an infestation. I wonder if we got
I don't think
It didn't sound like that.
No.
It said like one caterpillar, right?
how some sort of caterpillar has appeared on my houseplants. I mean, I get them every so often. I'll just find holes in the leaves of a plant, and it's typically still on that
Little
plant,
tent.
and I just have to turn those leaves over, and I say, there you are, little buddy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
And I
moths.
take them outside. Yeah.
Moth inside your house can lay an egg, and it ends up being a caterpillar.
They have nowhere else to go.
Right.
Right.
Until you give them alternatives and going outside. And speaking of going outside,
And if you got wormy plants and you need to replace them, where are you going to go, David?
well,
It's-
I don't know that wormy plants necessarily need to be replaced. I mean,
okay.
because it's a fairly normal activity
Yes, it
for
is.
plants to get chewed on by all manner of critters.
Additional support for Gardening Inside Out is brought to you by Bates Nursery and Garden Center, a third-generation nursery located in Nashville, Tennessee, and 20-time recipient for Nashville's Best Garden Center, offering the widest selection of new arrivals for fall, like specimen conifers, Japanese maples, and pansies in nearly every color. Open year-round, minutes from the heart of Nashville in beautiful Whites Creek, Tennessee. Browse their selection online anytime at batesnursery.com. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932.
All vines.
All vines.
Yeah, and even though I wrote the article, I completely forgot to mention that. So thank you.
Well, hey, y'all,
sometimes-
adding a trellis into your landscape somewhere in like a tricky spot or a tight spot or whatever, like that is a great design element that a lot of people forget about. And a vine to put up it, whether it be crossvine, whether it be wisteria. Well, be careful with wisteria on a
You
little
need-
trellis.
you need
Yeah,
structure,
don't do that.
yes, yeah.
But crossvine, great. Clematis, great. To add that to a landscape in one of those spots that's kind of weird or just like a singular thing, like grow a vine up, a cool trellis. You know?
Do it. And crossvine makes a great screen.
Yes, it does.
Big Nonia.
See?
Magnolia. That's
David likes
right.
the big Nonia.
Yesterday, I was tucking my crossvine into my trellis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
My crossvine, I sent a picture to Bridget right before I went out of town because it's growing all as a screen on my porch. And
It's
she
making
wanted
a
to
map.
see, she wanted a picture to show customers, like, yes, you can use this as a screen. And mine stays up all through the winter.
Is it starting to show its fall color yet?
Again,
seen
I
it.
got home so late
haven't
and
seen
left
it. It
early
was
that I
dark
haven't
last
seen
night,
it yet.
didn't
Get back to us next week.
I will get back to you next week.
Mine
All
is
right.
shedding some interior leaves and no sign of coloring up yet.
Nice.
Usually mine gets color when it gets cold. It's like the
Yeah.
cold makes it really, really deep. We got a live question from Jane Ann Gibbs. Jane,
Jane.
says,
Hi,
good morning,
Jane.
Jane. As I have been mulching leaves, I've noticed a white mold on poplar leaves. I remember hearing that there is a threat to poplars now. Does this white mold indicate some kind of fungal poplar disease? Looks like white smeared bird poop. Sorry about the description.
Well, don't be sorry. We like very descriptive things.
We need that.
I mean, going into winter dormancy
bird.
with like fungus on stuff and mold or whatever on poplars, I mean, that's just going to be given back. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that.
That's
they're-
part of the nitrogen fixation
Exactly.
process. It's got to be able to break down.
Yeah, and I don't think there's going to be any threat at all to tulip poplars around here. You know how many tulip poplars we have in this state and the whole northeastern,
Gajillions,
southeastern
yes.
United States? They're everywhere. Like, I don't
You
think
could
there's-
throw a rock almost.
and hit one for sure. Yeah. So be clean with those leaves. You know, we don't want to, be keeping those around all winter or whatever. But like, if you can rake them up and get them out of there, it's certainly fine. But I don't think
Yeah, they're not particularly long-lived trees anyway. And
they can. I mean,
Yeah.
some can live long, but you're right. I mean, they're not super long lived, but at the same time, like they're living.
great lightning rods. Great
Yeah.
lightning rods. Yeah.
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 Ooh. So let's get a couple more questions in that we got in on our page. How do I get rid of pokeweed in my yard? Oh my gosh, you dig it up. That's the only way I found. And you got to dig deep.
And
Those,
keep digging.
those roots will break easy and then it will spread and keep going.
And
You're
when
so
you
right.
think you're done,
You're not.
dig some more.
Dig some more.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
If you leave any part of that root in there, it's coming back.
Yeah,
And,
and
the tap root can be like this long on a poke salad.
It's crazy. As soon as you see them pop up, because they will reseed, get those little saplings out of the ground. They will establish so fast and they will take over that bed that already has 4 o'clock and passion flower growing in it. Because that's what I have as well.
Well, but you're right, though. It's not just a hand pull. It's a
No.
shovel. You
It's
have to get a shovel. Even with the little seedling that comes
Yeah,
up, you can't
when
pull
they're
that. The
this
stem just
big,
breaks.
You can pull them this big, but
Yeah.
once they get like
Any
yay
bigger at
tall,
all.
it breaks and you've made a mess.
And then wash your hands.
Yeah, true.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
When
not
to
good
stop
for you.
planting perennials in Nashville? Construction in December, and I want to plant after.
Never stop planting perennials.
Never.
Never.
Just don't plant them where the drywall truck's coming.
Yeah.
That's
Okay?
right.
I mean, keep in mind what you're
Yeah.
job site. I'm serious.
They will
about
drive
this.
over it. They will walk over it. They will lay their lumber on top of it. Yeah.
I think
they're waiting until the end.
They will put the lumber on top of it. I promise you that.
Yes.
But I honestly think this is a great question. But that so many people think that once wintertime comes, you can't plant anymore. Like this happens all the time. I get this question all the time.
Yeah.
And y'all, there is no time where you can't plant perennials around here. If our ground freezes, if it ever does freeze, I mean, barely ever. Like plants are dormant during the cold. It's the easiest on you. Like it's way better than planting dead of the summer. Like you got to water
Yeah.
that.
And things you
Dead of
plant,
summer's the
and
only
things
time.
that you plant this time of year are almost a full year ahead of anything you plant in the springtime. The people
Yes.
tend to do it in the spring
Okay.
because that's when they're ready. They've been in the house all winter. However, if you plant them in the fall,
And new
they
construction-
would explode come springtime.
New
Exactly.
construction
They will.
sites are much cleaner than they used to be. They put dumpsters. They don't dig burn piles. They don't do a lot of stuff that they used to. So I mean, yeah, go ahead, get them in the ground.
Get
Another
'em
thing
in
in
the
the used
ground.
to department.
Yes, used to. Hey, and by the way, Teresa can spell M-U-M, David Bates.
That's the short
Okay.
form. CHRYSANTHEMUM.
That's easy
Hey.
for you to do. Okay. All right. Okay.
There you go.
You spell good. You always do.
G-O-O-D.
Yeah, good. G-U-D. All right, folks. We're out of time again.
Yep.
Nabbit.
Yeah.
Now, there's
Yeah,
a
it
special
gets-
guest in
gets by
studio
quickly.
next week, so
Yes.
be sure to tune in on Saturday morning at 0800.
Talking
Central.
edibles and food.
We're falling back tonight, I think, too, aren't we? Yes.
Is it tonight?
No.
Is that tonight?
I think.
No.
November
No.
3rd.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so
November
I'll see you
3rd.
guys
it'll
tomorrow.
still be
That's
8
tomorrow.
o'clock, but it'll be an hour earlier. But never mind about that. Hey, we love you folks. Hey, we hope you come back. Come and see us out here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
We'd love to see you.
Yeah, they would. Have a good time. See you next week.
Thank you for tuning into the Gardening Inside Out podcast. If you're looking for more information or more from your hosts, don't forget that we have a live Saturday morning broadcast, 8 a.m. Central Time on YouTube and Facebook. You can also follow us on our Instagram channel. That's @Gardening Inside Out for more posts, reels, and in-depth dives to topics and things we've discussed on the show. If our content resonates with you, consider giving us a follow, like, and subscription on all of our social media pages. See you next time.